Hi guys, welcome and who dat? I'm Joe, and today we are going to do a way too early NFL mock draft for our beloved, bless you boys, in black and gold, the New Orleans Saints. And we're going to be doing 7 rounds. Now, I know the draft order isn't set yet. I know that all of these player rankings are going to change, and none of this is set in stone. This is just an examination. It's something that I do. I like doing mock drafts for the Saints. Typically do this in the off season when we have more, in line and what we know is going to happen. But since the Saints season isn't going too well right now, I figure it's never too early to take a first look. So, what are the positions of need for our Saints? I'm going to pull them up right here, and then this is kind of like everything, right? I mean, we need offensive linemen. We could use another tackle. We could use another guard. We could probably use 2 tackles and 2 guards. We definitely need defensive linemen. We have Cam Jordan probably going in the last year of his contract next year. We've got Chase Young, who's going to be a free agent. Peyton Turner is going to be a free agent. And I'm not sure if we're going to re sign Chase Young or Peyton Turner. So I think defensive end, you might need a couple of them. This team is lacking in run defense. We're also lacking in pass rush. So defensive tackle and defensive end are a priority for me. I'm also looking at the DBs. We're going to need a couple of safeties probably because Tyrann Mathieu is going to retire sooner than later. And we're not quite sure what we have opposite of Mathieu right now. So I wouldn't be shocked to see the Saints grab a couple of DBs. And you've also got to consider cornerback, as Paulson Adebo is going to be a free agent. Not sure if we want to sign him to a big fat contract. Marshawn Lattimore is still a trade option here. So, yeah, safety and even cornerback are a necessity. On the offensive side of the ball, we could use another wide receiver. We could definitely use a tight end. Taysom Hill's getting older. Juwan Johnson, I don't know if he's shown us as much as he's ever going to show us. Foster Moreau isn't getting any younger. And I think running back is a big thing to look for here. I mean, Alvin Kamara, whether we re-sign him, extend him, whatever happens, he's not getting any younger. I don't think we're going to re-sign Jamal Williams. And we don't know what we really have with Kendre Miller. We hope Kendre Miller can stay healthy, and we hope that he's a good player, but we haven't seen a lot of that yet. And so I'm looking at that as well. And then a linebacker. We've got a lot of youth at linebacker after Demario Davis. I don't know if we're going to re-sign Willie Gay after this year, but a lot of that youth needs a lot of they need a lot of reps to get better. And this past game the Saints played against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the linebackers kind of struggled. We had backups running around in there in the place of Pete Werner, and Demario Davis is missing a step this year. he's he's constantly battling injuries, so linebacker's a big spot too. So those are the positions of need for the Saints. And like I said, we don't know where we're going to be picking. I did this particular mock draft a week ago. The projected pick for the Saints at that time was pick 12 overall. This week, if you go to the mock draft simulators, they have the Saints picking at 8 because, we've lost once again and we keep losing. But I did this one last week, and these were the draft picks that the Saints were allocated. Pick 12 in round 1, pick 43 in round 2, pick 74 in round 3, pick 110 in round 4, pick 146 in round 5, and pick 251 in round 7. I noticed the Saints don't have a sixth-round draft pick on a lot of these boards. In some of the mock draft simulators, they're giving the Saints two seventh rounders, but not a sixth rounder. So these are the picks I'm working with. Now, like I said, I've already addressed our positions of need, and we're talking about at least 10. And it wouldn't be bad to double up on either a defensive lineman. I'm already wanting a defensive tackle and a defensive end. You could double up on one of those and get three or four. And offensive lineman, same thing. I want a tackle and a guard, but it wouldn't bother me to double up and get two tackles and two guards. Make sure you have your bases covered. So I'm not satisfied with having just six picks. If you watched any of my mock drafts last year, you know I love to trade down, and that is something I'm going to do until the Saints can restock the pantry. So, with all that being said, that's where I'm at, and let's get this show started. The Saints are picking at 12. I am seriously interested in dropping down. There's a lot of great players at the top of the draft right now. And my biggest position of concern, position of need, would either be the right defensive end, the correct defensive end, or an offensive lineman. Now, I have two offensive tackles that are worth this number 12 pick on the board, either Will Campbell out of LSU or Kelvin Banks out of Texas. If either one of those guys are there at 12, I'm taking them. And if not, then I got to consider grabbing another position. Nick Scorton out of Texas A&M is a defensive end that I've got my eye on, and if Mason Graham, the defensive tackle from Michigan, can fall all the way to 12, I'll grab him. But if those players aren't there, then I'm seriously considering trading down. Well, pick 12 comes up, and I've missed out on Kevin Banks and Will Campbell. Both of them offensive tackles are gone. The next offensive tackle on my board is in the overall rated in the 20s. So if I want an offensive tackle, it's a reach right here. So there's no defensive tackle. Mason Graham's gone. This is a little too rich for Kenneth Grant. And I'm not sold on Deion Walker out of Kentucky. He's a project, and I do not want to take a project this early in the draft. So I'm going to take phone calls, and I get one from the New York Giants. They pick at pick 15, and they're wanting to move up three spots. They are offering me their third round pick, pick 77, their fourth round pick 134, and a seventh round pick, 223. Like I said, the players that I'm identifying this high in the draft are gone. So do I pick up these extra three picks? Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm going to go ahead and make this deal happen. Now, the Saints are picking at 15th overall. We've got the 43 in the second round, but now we have two third rounders and two fourth rounders. Even though we're missing a sixth rounder, we now have picked up an extra seventh. So I like this. This is good. We have extra picks now, 9 overall instead of 6. And when pick 15 comes up, Green Bay gives me a call. Now I have this extra third and this extra fourth now, so I'm going to try to move up and get a much better pick than just a third and a fourth for moving down. So when Green Bay calls, they're offering me a third and a fourth, and I wheel and deal with them. So I'm able to get their second round pick for this move, as long as I throw in one of my third round picks. And then I get a fourth and a sixth on top of that. So this is the kind of move I really want to make. I'm looking at offensive tackle at pick 15, and I'm looking at the teams that are going to pick in the next 5 or 6 picks, and I'm thinking maybe I can get one of these offensive tackles if I move down. I'm going to take a chance at it because picking up this extra second round pick sounds good to me. I'm giving up my later third, but I'm going to recoup a fourth and a sixth overall. So I make the move with Green Bay. They move up to 15. And now my draft picks are the 18th pick in round one, two second round picks, a third round pick, three fourth round picks, a fifth. We finally got a sixth, and we still have those two sevens. All right. I got a lot of picks now. That's 4, 8, 10, 11. Okay. I'm going to pick at pick 18. But Seattle calls me when I'm at 18. Yeah, and I listen to every call. And if they're offering me something I like, I'm going to take it. Seattle's picking at 20, and I don't think they're going to move up and get the offensive tackle. There's two of them on the board I really like. So even if they do, Seattle is offering me just to move up two spots. They're offering me a third round pick and two fourth round picks, plus a sixth round pick and a seventh round pick next year. That's a lot of picks. That's five picks just to move down two spots. And like I said, there's two tackles there I like. So I'll go ahead and make this move because it's too rich for me to pass up. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14. So now the Saints have 14 picks. Pick 20 overall, two picks in the second round, two picks in the third round, and now five picks in the fourth round, a fifth round pick, a sixth round pick, and two sevens. Now I got a bunch of stuff I can wheel and deal with. So I'm going to go ahead and pick 20, and I'm going to try to move up in the second round with some of these extra picks. I think having 12 draft picks would be perfect for the Saints because we have at least 10 positions that need to address. And I like to get a nice, young, fresh body for all of these positions, whether they work out or not. So that's my intention. I'm going to try to package and move up later on, but for right now, I'm sticking and picking at 20 after already trading down three times. With pick 20 in the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select offensive tackle Emory Jones Jr. out of LSU. Now, this past weekend, Jones had an awful game. He allowed like six or seven pressures. He was getting beat all day long. He doesn't look comfortable at tackle. He's consistently ranked as one of the best tackles in the draft coming up, but he keeps doing performances like this past week, and yeah, he's going to find himself in the middle rounds. Like I said, I did this draft last week. It was really between Emory Jones Jr. and Ariante Ursery, the offensive tackle out of Minnesota. At this point, I would pick Ursery instead of Jones. But last week, before Jones had this monumentally awful game against Ole Miss, I went ahead and took Emory Jones Jr. Either way, it's a body on the offensive line that's going to compete with Trevor Penning, and I don't think it takes a lot to improve this offensive line. That's what I was saying last year. Instead of taking Fuanga with the first pick of ours, I thought we should trade down a bunch and try to target Tyler Guyton later on in the draft. That's what Dallas did. I also wanted to target a guard somewhere in the second or third round. Dallas ended up taking Cooper Bebe. Uh, that's kind of the move I would have done. I would have settled for Tyler Guyton at tackle and Cooper Bebe at guard than to just have Fuanga. That's the way I am. Tyler Guyton is struggling, but he's starting and he's getting better. So that's my opinion on the matter, and that's exactly the route I would take this year too. Uh, Emory Jones Jr. is 6 foot 6 inches, 315 pounds. And if you can't cut it at tackle, you can always kick him inside and play guard. But that's where the Saints are at now. We make a pick. We have all of these picks, and I decided to try to package up and move up. I want to get to the top of the second round. And I have a player with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the trade. Jacksonville is going to give me the 36th pick in the second round. I'm going to give them my 49th pick in the second round, plus those two late fourth round picks that I just got. One of them I got from Green Bay, one of them I got from Seattle. I'm going to throw those in, pick 134 and pick 136 in the fourth round. And that move is good for the Jaguars. They will trade down from 36 to 49 if I give them those two fours. But I also look at doing a swap with round 6 and round 7, and Jacksonville's willing to do it. I'm going to give them my 6th round pick 192, and they're going to give me their 6th round pick 181. So I move up there. And I'm also going to give them my 7th rounder 251, and they're giving me 219. Now that's a 32 spot difference in the 7th round. But giving them two fourth-round picks to make that move in the second round was rich enough where I could also improve a 6th round pick and a 7th round pick. So this is the move that I make. And now the Saints are picking at 36 in the second round and then 43 in the second round. We still have two third-rounders. We still have three fourth-rounders. We still have a fifth, a sixth, and two sevenths. Works out good for me. This is exactly what I wanted to do. And I'm good right now. I could keep this exactly the way it is, and I would be happy. Of course, I always entertain trade options, and so that's an option. But now that I've moved up in the second round, I'm picking pretty dang early. With the fourth pick in the second round, pick 36 overall, the New Orleans Saints select Isaiah Bond, wide receiver out of Texas. Isaiah Bond is only 5 foot 11 inches, 180 pounds. We have a bunch of short wide receivers on our team. We really should be looking for a big body guy. But Isaiah Bond is a playmaker. I mean, if he's still there in the second round, it'll be a miracle because I believe he's going in the first round. And yeah, it's part of the reason I moved up when I did because he was still on the board. Why am I getting another short wide receiver? Well, this guy's a playmaker. I expect him to be I expect him to be a better playmaker than Olave. And even though he's small on the smaller side, like Olave and Rashid, he shows that he's a playmaker. He can make contested catches. He can run past you. He's super fast. So I'm going to go ahead and take the playmaker. It I'm just assuming Bond is going to be a great player. There's a lot of other wide receivers in this draft that have size, and I'm looking for a guy with size. But for right now, I'm also looking for playmakers, and I think Isaiah Bond opposite Chris Olave would be a lot for a team to handle, especially with Rashid Shaheed running around out there too, every now and then, right? So I'm very happy with this move. And later on in the second round, I stick and pick with pick 43 in the second round of the 2025 NFL Draft. The New Orleans Saints select Walter Nolan, defensive tackle out of Ole Miss. Walter Nolan is a pretty good player. He's projected to go in the second round. I'm looking for help on the defensive line. Nolan is 6'3", 305 pounds, and I'm going to put him next to Brissy in the middle, and we're going to have ourselves a couple of good defensive tackles, all right? Shepard, I don't know if he's going to, how much longer he's going to stick around. I don't think Colin Saunders is going to be here much longer. Christian Boyd is a big nose tackle type, but he's a 6th-round pick, so we've got ourselves another piece in the middle of the defensive line. All right, the next round starts. Round 3. I'm picking at pick 30 or pick 74. And I get a call from the Washington Redskins. They're picking at pick 78. And like I said, I'm happy with my draft picks right now. Someone would have to give me a good offer, and they do. They want to move up 4 spots in the third round, and they're willing to throw in another third round pick, pick 93. They're also throwing in a fourth round pick 131. And they're also throwing in a fifth round pick and a sixth round pick next year. They really want this player. And I look at the board and I'm happy with the way it is, especially if I'm going to grab another third and another fourth, just to move down 4 spots in the third round. I'm not turning this away. I'm taking the trade and I'm adding even more picks to my already bloated long list. So now we've got 3 third round picks and we're back up to 4 fourth round picks. And I don't have to sweat it out. Pick 78 comes and the guy that I was targeting is still there. With pick 78 in the third round of the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Jahdae Barron, defensive back out of Texas. I consider Barron to be, he's a cornerback, probably rated 66 overall player as a cornerback, but people project him to play safety. Some people see him as maybe the fourth best safety in this class. So that's why I'm taking Jahdae Barron. He's got the flexibility to play corner, but I'm going to try to play him at safety. We need help in the DBs anyway, because I feel like we may trade Lattimore. We won't re-sign Paulson Adebo. You're going to go out there with Alontae Taylor and Kool-Aid McKinstry and Rico Payton. You know, if Taylor keeps playing nickel, you're going to need an outside corner. But regardless, safety's a area of concern for the Saints. And I think Jahdae Barron would work out just fine. He's 5'11", 200 pounds. The Saints like tall safeties, but I don't know if Dennis Allen's going to be our head coach after this year. I don't know what type of player the Saints would be drafting. But this is a guy that I like, and I'm happy to take him at pick 78. We wait a little ways, but in the third round, we're picking again at pick 87. In the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select defensive end Ashton Gillotte out of Louisville. 6'3", 275 pounds. I like a big defensive end. He is going to take the place of either Chase Young or Peyton Turner. I'm expecting Gillotte to come in and compete with Foskey for shared time with Cam Jordan, because that's what we're going to need. We're going to need somebody to play. We're actually going to need someone to take Cam Jordan's place. I don't know if we're going to re-sign Chase Young. Would you re-sign him? Somebody who hasn't experienced Chase Young yet would probably offer him more money than we'll be willing to offer him. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking he's probably worth about $10 million a year, but somebody's going to pay him more than that, and we're not going to re-sign him. Peyton Turner is an injury waiting to happen all the time. I don't see us re-signing him. So you got Cam Jordan, who's probably going to retire, and then you got Isaiah Foskey. Well, not anymore. Now you have Ashton Gillotte, 275 pounds. He can play all 3 downs. He's a really good edge rusher. So the Saints get help on the defensive line. And that extra third round pick on the trade I just made is coming up. And I'm glad I acquired it because I really want an interior offensive lineman, and I really want a defensive end, and I really wanted a DB, and I wasn't sure which way to go. But with the extra pick, I go ahead and grab Gillotte. And with pick 93 in the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Parker Brailsford, interior offensive lineman out of Alabama. Parker Brailsford has played, he might have played tackle for Alabama, but I know he's played guard, and this year he's playing center. He's going into the draft as a center, 6'2", 290 pounds. It's not very big. He could probably bulk up and handle guard in the league. But I like the versatility here with Brailsford. You got yourself a backup center, and you got yourself a potential starting guard. I think Brailsford can move around at his size well enough for this offensive system if we keep this offensive system. So there you go. That's the first 2 days of the draft. We've grabbed two offensive linemen, two defensive linemen, a wide receiver, and a safety or a cornerback, however it works out. And that's a pretty good haul. 6 picks in the first 3 rounds. And remember, we started the day with 6 picks total. So that's why I like doing all this maneuvering because you get to address more positions. Imagine that. And that's the best way to build a team is through the draft. Doesn't matter if you miss on half of these. You're injecting youth and you are addressing positions of need for the team. All right, the third day of the draft is going to start, and we have a ton of picks, and I plan on making all 4 of these fourth-round picks. With pick 110 in the fourth round of the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Devin Neal, running back out of Kansas. I like any player out of Kansas. They kind of run this outside zone a lot, and so it transfers to what we're doing on offense pretty well. Devin Neal is a stud of a player. He's 5'11", 215 pounds. So he's a touch bigger than Kamara. And Neal's very good receiving. He's very good running. And on this particular draft site that I'm on, they actually had Neal rated around, I want to say 145 overall. But I grab him at 110 because he meets the type of running back that I think the Saints need. He fits our scheme. I passed a few of them that were pretty good that were rated higher than him, but I reached and grabbed him because that's the guy I wanted and that's the guy I got. And we're picking 8 picks later with pick 118 in the fourth round of the 2024 NFL Draft, 2025 NFL Draft. The future. The future's looking bright. The New Orleans Saints select Luke Kandra, offensive guard out of Cincinnati. Now, we've already grabbed Parker Brailsford. And like I said, he's a smaller guy and can probably move around. This guy, Ken Kandra, 6'4", 323 pounds. He is a big dude. He can definitely hold up at guard. He may actually be a starting guard for us. And Brailsford ends up being a swing backup center guard. It would be nice to have somebody prepped at center and ready to go in case Eric McCoy gets hurt. You know what I mean? And I like Kandra. In my opinion, he's a third-round pick. And the reason I picked Brailsford over Kandra, they were both on the board in the third round, was because of Brailsford's ability, his flexibility to play center. But Kandra was too good to pass up here after I grabbed the running back I really want. I'm not going to pass up Kandra here. And now we have 3 offensive linemen. With pick 123 in the fourth round of the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Smael Mondon Jr., pardon me if I mispronounce the name, linebacker out of Georgia. I wanted a linebacker. He's a pretty good one. He is 6'3", 235 pounds. And we could use youth at linebacker because, Demario Davis isn't going to stay healthy forever. So what position does Mondon play? I don't know. But when you look at our backup linebackers on the roster right now, as far as players the Saints drafted, the highest drafted player is DeMarco Jackson. He's a fifth-round pick. You've got Jalen Ford, who's a fifth-round pick. You've got Nephi Sewell, who's not active yet, but he's undrafted. You got Anthony Orji, he's undrafted. And of course, Willie Gay was a free agent. Don't know if we're going to re-sign him or not. So getting a linebacker in the fourth round, this guy's actually the highest rated player we've drafted at linebacker. So I think there's a chance Mondon comes in and, you know, grabs a position. And we have one more pick in the fourth round, pick 131 And with the 131st pick in the fourth round of the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select a Johnny Cornelius, offensive tackle out of Oregon. I want to double down on guard and I want to double down on tackle too. A lot of people see Cornelius as a potential guy to put at guard. They're not sure if he can make it at tackle in the NFL. He's 6'5", 315 pounds. Some sites have him rated as a late second, early third rounder. So to grab him at the bottom of the fourth round is a lot of value for me. And I also value having depth on this offensive line and defensive line. So maybe Cornelius isn't the greatest projection at tackle. Well, he's got to beat out, Oliudo or Landon Young. Landon Young's a free agent after this year. I don't know if we're going to re-sign him or not. So if you have Emory Jones Jr. and a Johnny Cornelius competing with Trevor Penning for tackle, one of them can beat Oliudo out. Okay. We need tackles and we need guards. And I'm very happy to have done this. All right. The fifth round comes. We have pick 146. And with that pick in the 2025 NFL draft, the New Orleans Saints are going to draft Mason Taylor, tight end out of LSU. Now, I don't know what's crazier. Projecting that the Saints will take a player from LSU in general, that's kind of crazy. But this would be number two from LSU. Mason Taylor's an interesting cat. I think he's one of the best tight ends in the draft. And there are sites that have him ranked in the top 100 overall. But there are also sites that have him ranked 250th, 230th. This particular site had him somewhere around 170, 180, something like that. So he's still on the board, and I grab him. In reality, Taylor will probably get drafted no later than the third round. But like I said, all of these things are going to change. And for right now, Taylor's on the board in the fifth round, and we're taking him. All right, we do have a sixth-round pick because we made all them trades, and so we do get to pick in the sixth round. And with pick 181, oh, by the way, Taylor is 6'5", 255 pounds, a stud. 6'5", 255, absolutely perfect for tight end. He can run block. We know he can run routes and catch. Taylor's a well-rounded tight end. He would be a steal in the fifth round for the Saints. All right, with pick 181 in the sixth round of the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints are going to grab Riley Mills, defensive tackle out of Notre Dame. Riley Mills is a pretty good player. He and Howard Cross for Notre Dame are both decent defensive tackles. PFF actually has Mills rated higher than Cross. Every other site has Cross rated higher. And Mills is kind of an in-between guy, 6'5", 295 pounds. So I think he'll fit good in the middle. We've already grabbed Ashton Gelate. So, and we've got Walter Nolan in the second round at defensive tackle. So this is going to make our third defensive lineman. I like the depth at defensive end and edge rusher in this draft. Defensive tackle, not so much. You have to pick and grab one as they pop up. This is a good value in the sixth round. I have my eye on a few other players in the seventh round. The seventh round starts, and with pick 219 in the seventh round of the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Elijah Roberts, defensive end out of SMU. This is a good player. One site has him listed as a defensive tackle. I have him listed as a defensive end. He's 6'4", 278. And he's a decent edge rusher, and I like the size. He's going to make our second defensive end and our fourth defensive lineman taken altogether. Yeah. And that's how I roll. That's why I have 15 draft picks, because we end up with 15. There's a trade about to happen. But that's why. Because I'm going to grab 4 offensive linemen and 4 defensive linemen, and we're going to make this shake out. And if you have 8 spots devoted to the line, then yeah, you might want a few extra picks. So eight players I'm taking for the offensive line and defensive line combined. And then I'm going to end up with 15 picks. Let me tell you about this trade because I've only got one pick left, 230 or 223. And Miami wants it. They're offering me 231 and 249 and a 7th round pick next year. So yeah, I'm going to move down. Like I said, I'm already on the phone with rookies telling them to come to my camp as an undrafted guy. Okay. I'm already calling people. Miami wants to make this move. Great. That means I can pick up an extra player. So with pick 231 in the 7th round of the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select running back Jo'quavious Woody Marks. LSU knows him all too well from the first game of the year this past year against USC. Woody Marks is a flexible guy, 5'10", 208. He's going to fit into this scheme well, I think. We've already grabbed Devin Neal, and now we got Woody Marks. And I like it. I like it. I like it. Because right now, it feels like if Kamara's limping around, you don't have much options after that. Well, now you got two guys. Matter of fact, now that you have two guys, Alvin can do whatever he wants, retire, see the world, whatever. And yes, like I said, I did this so I could pick up an extra pick. And with that pick 249 in the 7th round of the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Lathan Ransom, safety out of Ohio State. Ransom is 6'1", 210 pounds. Some sites have him as a 3rd rounder, 4th rounder. Other sites have him in the 6th and 7th round. He's still there, and I grab him. So that's what I've done, ladies and gentlemen. And let's pull up the big board and look at it. Yep, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15 players overall. Like I said, 4 offensive linemen, 4 defensive linemen. So, and you got 7 other players because you needed other positions addressed. And I wanted to nail down offensive line and defensive line. So those are all the players. Plus, at the bottom there, you see I've also picked up a 5th round pick for next year, 2 6th round picks for next year, and 2 7th round picks for next year. So I've got 20 picks here, 15 players, and 5 picks next year. They're all 3rd day picks next year, but bodies are bodies. You never know when you're going to score. So let's look at the draft. 4 offensive linemen: Emory Jones at tackle and a Johnny Cornelius at tackle. And we've got Parker Brailsford and Luke Kandra at guard. So this is going to work out. We're going to find us a couple of starters out of these 4. We're going to find us some good backups. Defensive line, most important thing outside of offensive line, and I've addressed it 4 times. 2 defensive tackles, 2 defensive ends. Walter Nolan in the 2nd round. He's going to be a starter for us. Riley Mills. He's going to compete with Christian Boyd. And we'll see if Mills out of Notre Dame can give us more than Boyd out of Northern Iowa, right? And then we got 2 edge rushers, Ashton Gelate and Elijah Roberts. Both of them over 275. Both of them can play all 3 downs. Both of them are good at rushing the passer, and they have the size to stop the run. We need bodies on the defensive end. If Chase Young is going to be gone, if Peyton Turner's going to be gone, and you're just stuck with Cam Jordan, Carl Granderson, and Isaiah Foskey, yeah, you're going to need bodies there. Cam Jordan's going to be retiring soon, so grabbing 2 defensive ends, especially a big one that can play early downs and actually take Cam Jordan's place, is important for me, and I've done it here. On the offensive side of the ball, Isaiah Bond. Yes, he's short. Why did I grab a guy that's short? Well, he's a playmaker. And I think he's a better playmaker than Olave. Olave is a very good wide receiver, good route runner, excellent hands. He's showing the ability at his 6 foot frame to make some contested catches. He also gets concussed every year. Isaiah Bond is a fast, solid player. He shows fine against contested catches for his size. He's a playmaker, and I'm excited to have him. Running back, I grabbed two of them, Devin Neal and Woody Marks. Somebody's going to take the place of Jamal Williams. And then Kendre Miller can never stay healthy, so you've got yourself a security blanket here. Both of these players may end up better than Mims, Jordan Mims. So Marks is looking at fighting with Mims for that third spot, because I'm assuming Kendre Miller's never going to be healthy. And if Alvin Kamara's gone, we've got a couple of young studs here now. Grabbing the tight end, Mason Taylor, was very important for me. I think we do need an all-around tight end, someone who can run block and receive. We've got Foster Moreau, but he's not getting any younger, so this is a good move for me. And we did grab a linebacker, Mondon Jr., fourth rounder, like I said, higher round than any other linebacker we've drafted on the team now. So let's see if Mondon can fit into our scheme. I think he does. There's only a handful of linebackers that I like in the draft, and he's one of them. So we've done that. And then we grabbed ourselves a couple of DBs. Jahdae Barron, who I'm projecting to play safety, and Lathan Ransom at the end, who's a safety. So there you go, 15 players plus 5 picks for next year's draft. Just like that. And we've addressed almost all of our needs. I think the one need that we didn't address is getting a wide receiver with size. And when this draft ended, there were 6 players still there that I'd be calling. Number one, Jack Besh out of TCU. I think he's a stud. I think when it's all said and done, Jack Besh is going to be a draft pick. But in this draft, he doesn't get drafted. He's the one I'm trying to pay $250,000 to come and sign an undrafted contract with me. Jack Besh is, I think, 6'3". And all of these guys are 6'2" or more. I'm also calling J. Michael Sturdivant out of UCLA. He's thin, but he's tall. DeCorian Clark out of Texas, San Antonio. Always liked him. He's a good run blocker and big. Colby Young out of Georgia is still here, and he's a big guy, and I'm calling him. And you got a couple of other players, Deion Colsey out of Notre Dame, Dante Thornton out of Tennessee. All of these guys are 6'2", 6'3", 6'4". That's 6 wide receivers. Somebody out of that group's going to come into camp. I'm not going to let the need of a big-bodied wide receiver go past me. If I don't draft one, yeah, like I said, there's plenty of guys to bring in. And the Saints are pretty good at identifying running backs, defensive linemen, and wide receivers as undrafted guys. They always do a good job with those guys. So there you go. That's my first attempt at a mock draft for our beloved Bless You Boys in Black and Gold and New Orleans Saints. And much like I did last year, I want to trade down and get extra picks. I want to have youth on this team. I'm trying to rebuild this team, and the best way to do it is through the draft. And the only way you can do that is by trading actual assets that you have. If you're picking at 12th overall, last year I think we were 14th overall, and you can trade down from that spot, yeah, you might be missing one of the top 15 players, but you're also getting so many good players in the top 100. And the Saints really nail third and fourth round picks. The best drafts the Saints ever have, they have 9 or 10 draft picks, and they usually have 6 in the first 3 or 4 rounds. Those are the great drafts. And that's what we have here. A total of 6 players in the top 3 rounds, a total of 10 players in the top 4 rounds. And I believe you're going to find yourself a nice little haul here. There you go. That's my first mock. Subscribe to Rosenfield 10. I will be doing a complete breakdown of these college players in the off season, and I'm still covering the Saints twice a week at least. We do a preview of the game, we do a review of the game, and we'll be trying to catch you up on all of the news, especially in the off season. But my channel is the one to go to if you want to keep up on the draft. I will be doing more mock drafts as the season goes along, and once the season is over, it's going to be the big breakdown time where I break down every position in the draft and I tell you the players I like, I tell you their measurements, and I tell you how they can fit in for the Saints. I did this last year. Those videos were hard to do, but it was worth it. And I'm dedicated. I'm willing to do it again this year. So subscribe to Rosenfield 10, like, share the videos, and until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Who dat?